Coming off the back of 2018's hugely successful Marvel Spider-Man on the PS4, Miles Morales must shoulder the weight of not only living up to those high expectations, but also the pressure of being one of the first big exclusives for the PS5 on launch. After completing the game in all its glory on the new PS5, I can say with confidence that it smashes those expectations and maybe even takes it above and beyond the first Spider-Man game despite its much shorter playtime. Before we get into it, this is a non-spoiler review, so no need to worry if you're yet to play Miles Morales or if you're waiting to play it on PS5. However, there may be some spoilers for 2018 Spider-Man. Also, there may be some clips used featuring the unlockable suits. So if you don't want to see those, then head over to our website respawning.co.uk to check out the written version of this review. Right, let's crack on.
It'll be okay, man. Your mom's got people looking out for her.
St. Teresa's Church, whose choir built
Plus, now you're Spider.
I can't think of a better way to start this review than by talking about Miles Morales as the lead protagonist. I love this iteration of Miles in the first game, and seeing him get his own isolated story after getting his powers has been a pure joy to play through. Now don't get me wrong, I have nothing but nice words to say about Peter Parker in the original game, but I definitely feel closer to Miles after finishing his story. What stuck with me above all else is Miles' relationship with his friends, family and neighbours. The way that Insomniac has managed to make Miles' new home of East Harlem feel like a character in itself is nothing short of award worthy. Everything about Harlem and its residents just felt so homely and welcoming. Walking through the streets and interacting with these wonderful down-to-earth characters just made me feel so immersed on a level I just wasn't expecting. So much so that whenever one of these people needed my help as Spider-Man, I'd prioritise them over everything else and swing over there as quickly as possible to attend to their needs. Another main reason I adored spending time in this wintry version of New York was its diversity and representation. Whether it be the Puerto Rican flags that hang from the local apartment buildings, Miles' family often speaking in Spanish, the giant Black Lives Matter tribute painted on the side of a huge building, or the inclusion of an LGBTQ character, this city is bursting with acceptance. It results in Miles and the game in general feeling more modernised and more in touch than any AAA game that has come before. One of the best examples of this was Hayley Cooper. Hayley is one of my favourite side characters who just happens to be deaf, but Miles and best friend Ganke only ever referred to her as that street artist. And Miles himself even knows ASL. It's touches like this that go a long way in changing what's normal in video games, and Insomniac should be commended for it.
I don't know anybody here, and I'm always having to ask for directions.
You need to find a good restaurant, a barber shop, somewhere you can shoot hoops. You'll settle in.
The wonderful location and characters is only made better by a brilliant story that never outstayed its welcome. As you'll already know from trailers and advertisements, the main villain of this story is the Tinkerer, who is brilliant in this story, but that's all I'll say on that. I will say that the direction they decided to take the story worked perfectly for me. Obviously I can't say too much due to spoilers, but the events which take place really means that Miles must learn what it takes to become a hero, and wrestle with some tough decisions that just made me warm to him even more. The ending in particular was outstanding, and even days after hitting credits, I'm still thinking about certain moments in the story that will stick with me forever. So the story, locations and characters are all a home run. But how does the game perform on the new PS5? Gameplay wise, there's nothing massively new here. In fact, it's nearly identical to how the first Spider-Man played, but given how incredible that gameplay was, this is a positive. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That doesn't mean there aren't some cool new combat features though. The inclusion of Miles' signature electrical venom attacks are a welcome addition and really help you out of some sticky situations. Chaining the new venom attacks with Miles' unique finishes as well as some classic offense from the original was so much fun, and there wasn't a moment where the combat ever felt frustrating or boring. Swinging around a snowy New York as Miles is just as fun as it was swinging through a sunny New York with Peter. It works pretty much the same, except that as Miles is still pretty new to this whole superhero business, he looks a little sloppier in his animations, which I think's a real cool touch. Stealth action is exactly what you'd expect, with badass wall, ceiling and perch takedowns still being an option, as well as Miles' famous camouflage ability, which is great for staying undetected, especially if you make a mistake.
Don't worry, I got you! Thank you.
Visually, this game is stunning on PS5. Playing in fidelity mode means the new ray tracing is shown off in all its glory. Now I'm happy to admit that I didn't really understand or care what ray tracing was as we head into this new generation of consoles, but seeing it in action has made me realise how glorious it can be. Reflections in puddles, windows and even on certain suits all blew my mind, especially when playing in native 4K. The other option is performance mode, which ditches ray tracing in favour of 60 frames per second that runs smoother than a spider baby's ass. Personally, I'm a sucker for gorgeous visuals, so spent most of my time on fidelity mode. But I'd be lying if I said dropping back down to 30 frames per second after playing for a while in performance mode wasn't a little jarring. Whichever you decide to play on, you're in for a treat though, as this game is a feast for the eyes, and which this footage you're seeing now just ain't doing it justice.
Disassembler, so I could reverse engineer the plugin architecture and... You just fell asleep again, didn't you?
Outside of the visuals, other PS5 features like haptic feedback and stupidly fast loading times really gives the game a proper next-gen feel. Haptic feedback is used to feel everything, from every punch to the strain on your web as you swing through the city. There's also a stupidly satisfying feeling of launching Miles into the air as the new controller slowly rumbles and builds up tension before sending you into the air, which you can feel smoothly pass through your hands like wind on my fingertips. The fast load times also makes fast travelling well worthwhile. No longer will you see our Spidey travelling on the subway. Instead, you select where you want to go and in less than a second you arrive. It's insane how quick the game loads. Even how quick you get into the game is mind blowing. At one point, I timed it from the PS5's main menu, with the game not started up, to swinging into New York in less than 20 seconds.
Hey, Ma. You busy?
I do have to address a common complaint that a lot of people have made while playing Miles Morales, and that's game crashes. Personally, I have had 3 crashes now, with only one of them resulting in the PS5 actually having to restart, while the other 2 let me jump straight back into the game almost instantaneously. It's hard to say whether this is a software or hardware issue, and since the game was recently patched, I've not had any other issues, but I feel it needs pointing out regardless. I'll also take some time to address the length of the game. Yes, it's a lot shorter than the original, and for some people, that might be a deal breaker. It's worth noting there's still a lot to do in this open world sandbox, including collectibles, enemy bases, and more, which pads out the running time in a really enjoyable way. If you were to just smash through the story, however, you're looking at about 8 to 10 hours to complete. But that can be stretched to 15 to 20 hours if you wish to 100% the map. I want to finish by saying a little bit about the game's incredible soundtrack. The classic Spidey theme is back with a twist, as well as some tracks that really make this feel like Miles' game. I can't quite put into words how well this soundtrack works, but think how effective Into the Spider-Verse's use of music was, and you'll get the idea. More so than any superhero game I played before this, the soundtrack has a proper cinematic feel to it that really sets it apart. Seriously, between the perfect soundtrack, incredible facial animations and voice acting, as well as the incredible story, I feel you could watch most of this game as its own movie at times.
You're right, Genki. Underground are everywhere.
You might say they're overground?
Keep working on that one.
Overall, this is a shorter experience that will feel like it's over before you know it, but I can't help but feel it's actually a better one. Visuals, sound design, gameplay, and characterization is all a step up from the first Spidey game, and is a perfect launch title for the new PS5. representation, and Miles' relationship with the people around him made this a truly heartwarming experience, as well as an exciting one thanks to its thrilling, fast-paced story and gameplay. I knew I'd have a lot of fun with this Spider-Man spin-off, but I never thought it would challenge my Game of the Year. Well, guess what? It has. I give Spider-Man Miles Morales 9.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Have you managed to play Spider-Man Miles Morales? If so, I want to know your thoughts on the game in the comments below. If you've liked this video, make sure you hit that like button and make sure you subscribe for more videos just like this. Also, for the written version of this review, make sure to check out respawning.co.uk for that and other news and reviews. And remember, we can be found on podcasts by just searching Respawn UK wherever you get your podcasts from. If you want to follow us, you can do so over on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook by just searching Respawning UK. Once again, thanks for watching. I've been Mikey, and I'll catch you next time.